It won't just be the weather trying to make life miserable for the boys. Tampa, can Edmonton make it tough sledding for their visitors and win a third straight game? We get you set for the Oilers and Lightning right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying warm. Hope you're driving safe if you're on the roads right now. And thank you, as always, for listening and watching to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Top Gazzola with you. Joaquin, Gage, our analyst, as well as Hernan, the Latino Heat, Salas, of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Join the conversation. Don't do it while driving, though. Text us 780-218-9999 or get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, please, and thank you as we make our march to 11,000 subscribers over on the YouTube side. And yes, indeed, the 15-10-2 Oilers taking on the 14-9-2 Tampa Bay Lightning. Game number 28 for the Oilers, coming off a nice victory over St. Louis on Saturday night. All right, let's see how Hernan's doing. Let's see how Joaquin's doing. I know Gager's ready to rock, so let's bring him in here nice and early. What's going on, boys? How we doing? There you guys are. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Gager, what you been up to?
Sore carrying Hernan all day.
Oh, boy.
It's but I'm used to it. No, it was a good show. Except for the fact that Hernan doesn't like movies.
No, I do like movies. I just like good movies.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, obviously.
Well, ask Tommy about the movie you're talking
about. Tommy, you've seen The Matrix, correct?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so Hernan hasn't, and
wow,
it's. I mean, it changed the way people thought. I thought it was a perfect movie. There's been actually studies in universities about The Matrix. Like,
really,
it's probably a course I would have taken, but it's interesting. Different views of movies, but that's why I think we work well together. He's my yin and my yang, I guess.
You guys have a formidable show, I will say. We're lucky to have a lot of those on our station. Matrix has spawned this thought of, well, we're all living in a simulation, and I legitimately believe people think that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think so too, to an extent. And people want to get plugged in more than, and realistically, that came out at a time when, things were changing, and now when you really look at it, people are plugged in more than ever. So
right.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah. All right.
Nanso, you've got a bit of an echo going. I don't know if I tried texting you. Yeah. You might want to. Maybe you sound like a guy that's in the movie The Matrix, like traveling through the Matrix. Is that what you were going for?
That's what I thought he did. He was trying to sound omnipotent or something.
Yeah. Let me get. I'm gonna get Zach in here and see what's going on.
All right. In the meantime, we highly encourage you to text in your thoughts. We'll get to the Latino Heat's question of the night. We'll get to Game Changer shortly as the Oilers and Lightning for the first of two meetings this season. So we'll get you your starting lineups, and I'll bounce some ideas off of Joaquin when we talk about the Oilers. Edmonton expected to go with McDavid, with Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman, Draisaitl centering Podkolzin and Kapanen, Henrique between Janmark and Skinner, Derek Ryan centering Corey Perry and Connor Brown. On defense, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak paired up with Emerson. Travis Dermott is out. Gager, today at the rink, we heard Zach Hyman and even Adam Henrique. I asked Henrique about it. I asked him how his role has evolved on this team, and then and a couple of things ensued. He talked about settling in as a third line center and not being a top line winger or even top line center anymore. So I guess like a feeling out process through the first, let's call it 15 to 20 games for this group. Do you notice anything about the way this team's playing that is indicating that they've sort of found their spot in the lineup, respectively?
No. I'll have to say no, Tommy. But there's reasons for that. You bring up Adam Henrique, and I think, like you said, he's coming to a team now where his role is defined differently than what it was before.
Yeah.
Last year he gets here, deadline, gets thrust in, not living in a hotel, living day to day, basically. You don't really, the playoffs are a different animal completely at that point. You're just going day to day. There's not enough time to think. Now, regular season type of thing. And you could say the same thing with Jeff Skinner, I think, right? Both players came from a organization or a spot in their previous lineup where they were considered to be more of the Connor McDavids, the Leon Draisaitl's. So there's almost a reinventing yourself, and how are you going to be successful? Because those are not the roles that you're going to fill anymore, especially on this team. But you have to find a way to be successful. We've seen glimpses of them figuring out. I'm very optimistic that both of these players that we just mentioned will eventually figure that out. Mm-hmm. But it's difficult because they were such huge parts, and I'm not saying they're not big cogs in the wheel here. They'll need them at some point, but it's taken a little bit more time than I thought it would. But I understand why it's taking this amount of time to figure that out.
Henrique, guys, 9 points in 27 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, +5, 8 penalty minutes. He talked about being responsible, especially in his own zone, and I think you can see he's sort of put an emphasis on that. Not a lot of risky plays in the offensive zone, but he's starting to pick up some points. And then, we're talking about Jeff Skinner as well, 11 points now, team worst -8 through 27 games, 5 goals, 6 assists. Okay, continue. Do you want to
should have came in with your God voice.
Am I still echoing?
No, I wish you were,
great.
though.
Can you hear me? Is there an echo?
No,
you sound great.
Not good enough for either guy. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what you two say. No, I'm just kidding. No, you want more.
You
from
are
Adam.
Spicy today.
You want more from Adam Henrique. You definitely want more from Jeff Skinner. But again, he's not playing in the top 6, so how much can you expect? And no power play time, right, guys? So, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for coming. I'm out. No.
Well, okay, let's go to the Lightning lineup for tonight as Hernan quits on the show 9 minutes in. For the Lightning tonight, we're anticipating Braden Point between Jake Gensel and Nikita Kucherov. That's a hell of a line, boys. Nick Paul between Brandon Hagel and Cam Atkinson. Connor Geekie centering Gage Goncalves and Mitchell Chafee. Luke Glendening with Zemgus Girgensons and Michael Isamont on defense for the Lightning. Victor Hedman with Darren Radish. Ryan McDonough, the veteran, with J.J. Moser. And then Emil Lilleberg with Nick Perbix. That brings us to starting goalies, and we're going to get to a quick thought on the Lightning as well. But starting goalies for the Oilers, it's anticipated 26-year-old Stu Skinner gets the nod, 9-7-2. 292 GAA, 892 save percentage with 1 shutout in 18 games this season. Skinner lifetime versus Tampa, 0-2 record, 522 goals against average, 778 save percentage in those 2 appearances versus the high-flying Lightning. And then at the other end of the rink, 30-year-old Andrei Vasilevsky expected to get the start. He is 12-8-1 this season, a 240 GAA, 909 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 21 games this season. Vasilevsky versus Edmonton, 6-3-0, 325 GA, 905 save percentage in those 9 games he has faced the Oilers. That top line, Gager, I mean, you want to talk about going power on power tonight. That's pretty damn good. How do you defend Gensel, Point, and Kucherov? Not the biggest guys, I guess.
No, I'm just wondering, looking at that, which centerman gets the assignment to go up against Connor McDavid. We were talking with Eric Erlinson, I believe was his last name. He talked about a lot about Nick Paul, how well he's performing, how he goes up against a lot of the other team's top players. Big body, strong, can skate. I'm wondering how it goes. I don't know. I think you'll probably see Braden Point's line go up against the McDavid line, just going power on power, like you said, Tommy. Nikita Kucherov is fantastic player to watch.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I wonder. I mean, you mentioned the lineups this morning, and it didn't seem like they were loading up with Leon and Connor. I wonder if. I mean, we see it at times throughout the games, obviously, but I wonder if they go to that a little bit earlier and go just straight power, because that is a very potent line, and the best way to defend against it is probably to have the puck yourself.
Yeah, good point. Nancito, anything on Tampa that you want to hit on?
I mean, our guest earlier said Hagel is just playing outstanding hockey. Of course, they're going to be without Cirelli. He said those two guys. There's a reason why they made Team Canada. I mean, a little bit of bias, but they're having outstanding seasons, guys. And I think where you can get this Tampa team, guys, is the bottom six. You got some young guys in there, some unknowns as well, where I think the Oilers can kind of win that battle of the bottom six defensively. Cernak's a big loss, guys. He's their 2 or 3 defensemen there. So he's a big loss, and you got some young guys on the back end as well. So I think it's going to be, a battle of the top 6. those top 2 lines are going to be awesome, going back and forth. And if you look back to last year, guys, the 2 games, it was 10 goals and 11 goals in the 2 games. So 21 goals combined in 2 games. So I'm expecting more of the same tonight. It might be one of those high-scoring, high-chance games. And, I'm excited to see it.
Guys, that takes us to the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy Injury Report, where they treat you like the pros. Their multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. For the Oilers, Victor Arvidsson, IR undisclosed. He has been skating. That has been confirmed, much like I was suspicious that he was. Apparently got some new skates recently, so he wanted to break those in. Evander Kane, IR, abdominal surgery. We did get an update today, guys, from Chris Knobloch. Said don't really expect to hear much about Evander Kane for at least a month. Now, can you take him at his word? Or do you go, well, the last time we asked you about an injury, i.e. Victor Arvidsson, you said he'd be back by the weekend. He's been out for a month. So I don't know. I guess maybe we find out Evander Kane's ready to go by next week. I kid. For Tampa, like Hernan mentioned, Eric Chernak, day-to-day undisclosed. Anthony Cirelli, day-to-day undisclosed. But let's talk about this. They're dealing with Victor Arvidsson being out and Edmonton handling it quite well. And then the news that it should be at least another month before we really start to find out where Evander Kane is at. At least now we have a bit of a timeline and a bit of a clearer picture. Where does Kane slot in? How does a guy come back from not playing the entire season and not going through training camp? Joaquin, how would you look at this scenario with Kane, first of all, and then whenever Arvidsson's ready to go? I'm told he'll probably play before Christmas, and that's 14 days away.
Well, first, if I had these people looking after my injuries, it would be quite frustrating, Tommy. You wouldn't know when you're getting better. But I understand the games that are played.
Yeah.
Look, Victor Arvidsson, like I said, here's a guy, and I think because of the history of being injured and knowing that this is a team that's not just sniffing around the playoffs, they're looking for something bigger and better. He wants to make sure that he's 100%. The Evander Kane one's interesting because what's going to happen cap wise, getting him back, what does that kind of look like? If you're the numbers that you're saying, that's kind of middle of January that you're looking at, probably, I don't know how Evander Kane would feel about this, but there could be some sort of conditioning stint in Bakersfield, right? Something along to get him close. But these are 2 really big pieces of the puzzle, I think, come the hopefully for the Oilers game 83, right? You want these guys feeling at 100%. They're 2 players that have a unique set of skills that can create havoc for other teams. And Like if it takes till game 83, I'd rather them be at 100%. The Oilers are what they've shown over the last 5 games is they are good enough to challenge and play really good teams and win hockey games. A little bit different animal these next 5 games, though, right? This is a true test of, okay, do we need these guys back in the lineup as soon as possible, or can we still get by and make sure that they're 100% healthy?
Yeah, well, fair point. Hernan, do you want to add on anything when it comes to like the injuries and then finding out that the other thing that we were told is maybe a thought on this is Kane's day-to-day, I guess, and this is what Knoblauch kind of passed on to us. Like, he has a schedule and he has to come in, do his treatment, but he isn't really around the team. So, or maybe in passing, but, you know, I find that kind of interesting. And if a guy maybe feels on the outside looking in with the team, I don't know what you guys think about that, but that was initial thoughts when I was listening to that.
It sucks being injured, Tommy. Sorry, Hernan, if you're going to say something, but it's brutal. You don't feel like you're part of the team because usually you're in there at a different time. You're doing something. You're going to different places to do treatment and things. Mm-hmm. You're part of an organization that you don't get to go to work. Kind of, in a way, you as a hockey player, you just want to be part of everything, and it weighs on you. It sucks. And I think, not mistaken, didn't Kane go on one of the road trips earlier this season? Like, he went on the road with these guys.
That I'm not sure.
He did. But just to feel part of things, right? So, and even what we're hearing is, even we talked to DVD yesterday, and it's like, oh, we had an Arvidsson sighting. Like, you don't even see them around the rink.
Yeah.
Right? So and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, and maybe they're in the back or doing something. But it weighs on you a little bit, especially in a team with the Oilers that, you know, you're thinking you're going to do something special. You want to be part of it.
I've seen Kane up in the press box a couple weeks ago. I have not seen Arvidsson up there. Go ahead, Hernan.
No, it's just, I mean, like Gage said, he would know best. Players usually just do the rehab, and who knows how much they are around the team guys. Like, I don't know that. And again, Evander Kane is kind of hear the rumblings that he might not be the most popular teammate. So, but hey, listen, at the end of the day, when you do get him back, it is going to be, and I know fans don't want to hear this, like adding a new player at the trade deadline, because he's that impactful. He'll when your team's not feeling it and they don't want to get into the game, he'll grab his teammates and force him into a tough game, and that's what you need. And if this team's going to be successful for the rest of the season and into the playoffs, you need an Evander Kane, and a healthy Evander Kane is going to be a big difference. So I'm pretty stoked for that. And the Arvidsson stuff, I mean, like you said, Tom, like, it's the first time no one's really seen him. We don't even know what the injury is, and we keep hearing he's going to skate this week and all that. Until he's on the ice, I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Now, he is on the ice. It's just with, like, strength and conditioning coaches, athletic therapists that can go on the ice and work with him. But I think, what you're alluding to is he'll be back on the ice with the team at some point in the next week or so.
Guys, I got a good omen for tonight's game too.
Lay it on us.
Do either of you remember this day in 2010, Edmonton Lightning? What happened in that game?
Linus Ullmark.
Yes.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
My God, I remember that game quite fondly. I was offered tickets to Kevin Lowe's box in Rexall, and I took my brother-in-law, and it seemed like everyone left, and we were sitting there watching the game, and that's when we saw the goal and stuff. And as we left, the lady that came in and gave us the bill for the suite. And I don't want to say how much it was, but let's just say my brother-in-law looked like Usain Bolt running out of that place and skipping on that bill, and left that for Kalo. But
I was going to say, did you pass that one on to Kev?
But no one was there, and I showed it to my brother. I go, look at this. And he goes, oh, my God, let's get out of here.
I remember, this is way before I was even in the media or even had ideas of getting into the media. But I remember we were at my cousin's with somebody. We celebrated like they won the Stanley Cup, man. It was, it was tough times though back then, right? He
It
just
was
got
tough
Taylor
times.
Hall, and there was many more years of misery coming for the Edmonton Oilers, but it's one of the few highlights in the decade of darkness, Linus Ullmark. Where were you moment? And he did the twirl at center, guys, and like the goal wasn't that spectacular either.
No.
Right?
It was a fake slapper 5-hole.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what I hated about that most is Steven Stamkos after the game, and he was ripping on Ullmark because he thought that it was disrespectful for what he did. He said all this stuff, and I was like, "What is going on?" And it kind of soured me on Stamkos a little bit. And then the next night they were in Vancouver, and he did the stop the train, spin around and put it in backwards. And I don't like those goals in shootouts because it seems like it's against the rule because it says the puck can't stop its forward progress, right? And it's initially you're pulling the puck back and going the other way. So he essentially did the same thing the next night and was he was applauded for it. But let's just say back then, guys, I lost a lot of respect for Steven Stamkos.
No,
that was a great goal.
And remember, he was skating back to like celebrate with his teammates. The whole bench chirped him.
Yeah,
like, they were not happy. I think Dan Ellis was in net.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it was
vividly
brutal.
Remember that.
After just the night before, crazy.
I got along with Linus Ullmark really well because he was in Oklahoma for most of his time as an Oiler, and I got sent down there to go check up on the farm team a few times, and I found him to be very pleasant. He was quiet, he was different, but you could tell he had the swag. And I thought it was when he did that, I was like, that's funny. Like it was harmless, guys. Like
he did it at the blue line. Like
at center.
He got it. Yeah, he was done by the blue line. Like but I I distinctly remember the crowd went nuts and walking out. It was so like fans are great. Like I remember a woman going, "That was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life." It was
yikes.
I looked at her husband and go, "Really?"
Oh, all right. It's the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage with you, getting you set for the Oilers and the Lightning. Can the Oilers make it 3 straight victories? We shall find out. Edmonton winners of 5 of their last 6, 9 of their last 13. In a good spot, kind of rolling along nicely. Let us know your thoughts, 780-218-9999. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you already haven't. We're trying to get to 11,000 subscribers so that Dusty eats pickled herring and really, really extends his palate to something absolutely disgusting. But it's totally worth it. All right, let's get to Nancy, do you have the question of the night? Do you have one for tonight, or do you want to
I do.
Okay, let's get to the question of the night. And I saw like Coach Mike and some others had some questions for Joaquin. So we'll get to that as well as game changers. Let's go to the Latino Heat for the question of the night.
All right, guys. I think we talked about it on our show, and I think Reed talked. These next 5 games are huge, right? They get Tampa Bay tonight, Minnesota Thursday. Then you go to then you have Vegas, Florida, and Boston. Right? It's a good test. So the question is to you and Joaquin and our listeners at 780-218-9999 or on the Nasty Chat. What do you want to see, the number one thing from the Oilers in these next 5 games?
Ooh, Gage, you go first.
And I know this it can't happen every night. It's almost impossible. But I want to see close to 60-minute games every night. Like if the other team doesn't show up for a period, or Oilers really take advantage, really start asserting themselves as one of the teams considered to be a Stanley Cup champion this year. And maybe it's very difficult to get throughout the whole lineup 60 minutes of consistent play because other teams are good as well. But I don't want to see let's just say lapses of 10, 15, 5 minutes. I want to see real consistent play. Like last game. I thought it was you had to do something special to score against the Edmonton Oilers in that game. That's what you have to do. I don't want to see there's going to be mistakes. Of course, there's always mistakes in hockey, but I just want to see full throughout the whole lineup that they are what we've been talking about probably for the last few days is they're back.
Yeah. I like that idea, Gage. You're like, set the pace of the game, set the tone early, take the game away. Good teams do that. I like that idea very much. And that's a great answer. I would add, I guess, what I would like to see, the onslaught of goals. I want to see the offense open up or continue to open up, and not at the expense of defense, obviously, but keep scoring, keep giving your goaltenders run support, and then also give the defense some wiggle room to, I don't want to say make mistakes, but just allow the defense and the goalies to breathe, I guess. The offense can provide that.
On Hockey Night in Canada a few weeks ago, Kevin Bieksa was talking about the difference between good teams and bad teams, right? So everyone's got a very high ceiling for great level of play, but it's the lower end. Like that gap has been, I would say, too big for the Edmonton Oilers between their good game and their bad game. Mm-hmm. Their bad game has to get closer to their good game, if that makes sense, right? So it's just, even if they're not at their best, they're still winning hockey games. That's what good teams do. So close that gap. So even if it's not not their best, it's still it's closer to the other team's best, if that makes sense.
Hernan, what do you want to see from the Oilers in the next 5 games? It is your question of the night. Let's hear it.
Yeah, for me, it's simple, I guess, similar to what you guys are saying, consistency. Like, I don't want to see, for example, the Oilers win 4-2 tonight, lose 6-1 on Thursday, and then kind of go back and forth, 1 win, 1 loss. You got to start showing that you're one of the top teams in this league, why a lot of people have picked you as the Stanley Cup champion this year. So I want to see that. And Hyman's back. That's great. Arvidsson will be back soon. Kane in the new year. But this team is good enough to be up top with all the best teams in the league. And right now, everybody's kind of up and down, Tom. You look at the Rangers, they're in shambles. We talked to a guest from Colorado today. He said it's pretty much like the Oilers. They win 2, lose 2, kind of all over the place with their team as well. So for me, the big one is consistency. You're not going to win all these 5 games. I mean, you could. There's definitely a chance when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But what I'm saying is throughout these 5 games, I don't want to see a team that's really, really good and then a team that's really, really bad. Like, even if you lose some, at least they're close games and you're playing and doing some good things, right?
Well said. Well said. Speaking of Colorado, they're up 3-1 on Pittsburgh. 7:40 left in the second period at PPG Paints Arena. 11 games on the schedule. Busy, busy day in the National Hockey League as we get you set for the Oilers and the Lightning. All right, I did see some text coming in regard to Hernan's question of the night. What do you want to see from the Oilers in the next 5 games? Northside Sandwich says, all I want to see are competitive games or comparative games is what the text says. Want them to look like they belong. Chris texts in, said, I was outside the media door waiting for Tommy at the end of the game. Chris, good to hear from you. Yeah, good times. Big Uke says 5 consistent games. Play them. If you play good and lose, fine, but not so Jekyll and Hyde. Hello, Big Uke. Good to hear from you. Then RC in Landers says, hey, guys, myriad. I've been told that when used properly, there is no need to follow this word with of. For example, the correct use would be myriad problems. Oh, that was from earlier. You grammar nerds. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Big U also wants to see the Oilers score between 20 to 25 goals in the next 5 games. Aim high, achieve. That would be great. 4 to 5 goals per game in the next 5. Going to be tough against some really good teams, but let us know what you want to see from the Oilers in the next 5. If you want, text us 780-218-9999 and then get into the nasty chat. Over on the YouTube side, VR Montenegro says, good evening, Nasties. Please pardon my tardiness. I'm running on Tommy time. Welcome, VR Montenegro. Welcome. No big deal there. All right, let us know your thoughts. Question of the night, what do you want to see from the Oilers in the next 5 games? In that time, by the way, Edmonton gets Tampa tonight, Minnesota Thursday. Get ready for a lot of 2 o'clock starts on Saturdays here. It starts with the Golden Knights at home this Saturday. Then Edmonton takes on Florida at 6:30 on Monday. That is another prime game. They get Boston at home on Thursday, and then a 2:00 start against the Sharks next Saturday. Ottawa and LA to wrap up the Christmas week. And then to end the calendar year, a 2:00 Sunday start in Anaheim on the 29th, and then they take on Utah on New Year's Eve. So lots of 2:00 starts. Gager, did you like the 2 p.m.s? I don't know if you had a lot of them back in your playing days, but we're going to get 4 in the next 3 weeks here.
No, hated them. I was a creature of habit, though. I liked the 6 was okay. 7, I liked pregame skates. I like to, feel a couple pucks before, just my routine of everything. It was what I was accustomed to. It always seemed like those afternoon games just completely messed
the day up.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Like I would get up and then I'd have breakfast, and then you don't really know. I would always try to do something, go for a walk, and then you're going to the rink, and it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
It was just weird. So I didn't like them. I didn't like them at all. But it's different now. Like a lot of these guys don't even go to they go to the rink, but they don't skate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just getting their equipment prepared, maybe a little treatment. So obviously in today's day and age, Tommy, I think it's players are more accustomed to it, obviously. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I hated it.
Hernan, you can't wait to do these 2:00 games, right?
You know what? I don't mind them. You know why, Tommy? Because then you're just off earlier. I don't mind. But this Saturday is going to be tough because we have our Christmas party on our Friday. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can just go straight to the office, Hernan. It's fine.
I've heard others have slept there before, so. All right, let's get into Game Changers now. Brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven. Damon understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Game Changers with Joaquin Gage tonight. I love the theme. I was watching some clips from this film the other day. Number 1, Gager, Wet Bandits.
I myself was partaking in the viewing of this movie last night with my daughter, but then she fell asleep. But I watched the rest of the movie. But Wet Bandits. The difference between Tampa and Edmonton right now, snow. It's wet down in Tampa. Humid, gross. And they've come into the last 2 games last year, taking both games from the Edmonton Oilers. This has got to stop. Start pulling points out of the Eastern Division. Right. I think it's time. These kind of freebies, and don't let the Tampa Bay Lightning clog the sinks and turn the faucets on. Let's take care of business at home here.
Did you know what they called themselves in Home Alone 2: Lost in New York?
Sticky Bandits.
That's right.
And we'll have to wait till Thursday till I get into that.
Hernan, do you want to add anything to the Wet Bandits take?
No, I love it. It's perfect the way it is. I don't want to ruin it. So
Okay. Just like Home Alone, is it a Christmas movie? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Just like Die Hard. It's a Christmas movie. It's lightly based on Christmas. Come on now. Relax. Number 2 of Game Changers, protect your home, Kevin McAllister.
Well, he found out they were coming at 9:00. Game time's at 7, so the Oilers are going to have to come prepared, Tommy, right? To start the game on time. It's definitely against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've seen them with better starts, I think, over the past few games here. You said it before, asserting themselves, establishing a level of play that if the other team doesn't match, they're not going to be successful in winning this hockey game. Basically, what I mean by protect the house is this team has scored a lot of goals. Like we were talking to Eric today, they're scoring right now close to 4 goals a game. So protect the house, make sure that there's no second chance opportunities, and play their top line as tough as possible. Don't give them any freebies.
Tampa 6-5-1 on the road this year. They've won their last 2. They are on a 4-game road trip Nanso, you want to latch onto that one a little bit?
Yeah, I agree. I protect the house. Don't fuel your way into the game. See what Tampa's going to do. Like you set the tone, make them match your intensity, and your game. So that's what I want to see going forward. And they've done a really good job since the Colorado game. Tom, I know there's a loss mixed in there and all that, but I've been really impressed with the Oilers as of late. They're showing up. I think we were a little concerned for that Vegas game, even though it was 1-0. We were concerned about the back-to-backs in Denver, and they showed up, man. They were the better team in that first period, and tonight they're going to have to do the same because, like Gage says, this team can score. They got a really good power play, so you got to be ready right from puck drop.
It is Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Game Changers with Joaquin Gage. Point number 1 was Wet Bandits. Point number 2, protect your home. And this is a great John Candy reference. Point number 3, big in Sheboygan.
Look, the Edmonton Oilers have been the Polka Kings in the West a little bit. So over the past 10 games here,
polka.
Just keep things rolling. This is where they're tied for third in the Pacific, I believe. Next 5 games are a true test, and it sends a message. You want to be again. The big polka guys in the Midwest and the Western Conference essentially show these teams that you're a threat to be reckoned with the rest of the way here. Get these points, put them in the bank, start inching towards being first in the Pacific, because we all know, Tommy, that I think that was probably maybe a mantra of the Edmonton Oilers at the start of the season. They realized the significance of getting home ice, possibly in those game 7s. This is where they really need to make hay and start challenging in the Pacific. Strive
to be like Gus Polinski, the Polka King of the Midwest.
Oh, boy.
It's great.
That's great.
So good. Yes, we're referencing Gus Polinski, of course, played by John Candy. His scenes with the great Catherine O'Hara in Home Alone 1, they were big in Sheboygan, in that Chicago area. So great reference there. I love it, and I can't wait to see what you got on Thursday for Game Changers. Okay, I'm going to get to some text in the inbox as well as some nasty chat stuff. Of course, question of the night is, what do you want to see from the Oilers in the next 5 games? Edmonton taking on Tampa tonight. Minnesota in Mini on Thursday. They get Vegas on Saturday, 2 p.m. start there. 6:30 start Monday at home against Florida. That's a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup final. First one since Game 7, obviously. 2 days between games. Boston on Thursday of next week. Another 2 p.m. home start against San Jose on Saturday, and then Sunday at home to wrap up the next homestand against the Ottawa Senators. 6 o'clock start. Edmonton with the Christmas break Monday through Friday. Then they're off to LA. 2 o'clock start our time for the Kings game on the Saturday, and then they have a Ducks game on Sunday, also 2 p.m. our time, and then they wrap up the calendar year on New Year's Eve at home against Utah HC. Okay, I wanted to get to this one. It was from Coach Mike, and it's for Gager. It says, Gager, would you start Skinner all week? Stuart, not Jeff.
Good question. No, I don't think so. I'd like to see him play at least 3 of the 5, possibly even 4. This has probably been discussed already. I'm sure there's a plan of how Coach Nabla is going to allocate his goalies over the next 5 games. But I think Stuart Skinner's feeling it. Mm-hmm. I've wondered about this a little bit, Tommy, just because, again, when I played, there was distinct number 1s and backups, essentially. Right. And Stuart Skinner seems a little bit, he's kind of caged right now. He's playing sporadically at times, and I think this is kind of the plan to get him feeling good about himself and really wanting to get that net, right? And there's he's not getting a consistent level of play, say like a Hellebuck, or if you look to the other end of the ice, Vasilevsky. But I kind of like that. He's a thoroughbred horse in the starting gate, right? And they're giving him little tastes, and he's knocking it out of the park right now. Maybe this is kind of what they've noticed with Stuart Skinner, having maybe Pickard playing a little bit more. When you sit out, you want to get the thing you want most is to get that net back as quick as possible. And I think what we've seen is kind of working. But to me, I'd like to see him get just a little bit more in there. And I think against this type of competition and doing well, winning these games can do a lot of good for his confidence going into 2025.
Can we wait and see how this game goes? Like, do you think Knobloch will like say he's really good tonight? He goes into Minnesota, wins that game. Then he's like, yeah, like he's rolling right now, Gage, like you said. And he's like, screw it. I'm going to go against my plan to play Pickard and keep rolling with our hot guy.
Yeah, I could see Skinner playing the next three and then maybe getting a night off and then going for the 4 out of 5. I have no problem with that.
For some reason, I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe Pickard gets Thursday's game in mini. I mean, Boston, I think you could roll out any one of your goalies. San Jose, certainly, although they were playing well up until the last couple of days. Ottawa, same thing. Like, you look at Boston, San Jose, Ottawa, not the greatest teams. And I know Boston's kind of been better since Joe Sacco has taken over, but I don't know, guys. Like, I look at it. I say,
like, first he plays the first 2. See how, like, I would play him all 3 of these games. Give Pickard San Jose, and then give Skinner the last one.
That Sens game.
That Sens game, because that was his first win in the NHL, I believe, against the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I think it was like 6-5, if I recall correctly, during that Canadian division year, which was interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
That was, yeah. You're right. It was a really bad game. It was like, yeah.
Oilers were good, though. They were up like 5-1, and then they were all break, no gas. And,
Pickard's numbers are decent, though, guys. He's 2-4. Okay, the record's not great, but he has a .909 save percentage, 280 goals against, and I'm pretty sure that's better than Stuart Skinner's time against Minnesota, because no goalies played well against Minnesota for the Oilers as of late, right? So maybe Tom's onto something to give that game to Pickard.
No goalie in Oilers history since Joaquin Gage has been very strong against Minnesota. I can say that. Maybe Tommy Salo very briefly.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. Say it as many times as you want, Tommy.
Okay, fair enough. Gager was the best goalie the Oilers ever had against the Minnesota Wild. Ever.
I was playing against Noodles. We did have a battle to see who was worse, but whatever.
Oh, memorable clashes back in 2000, 2001. Coach Mike says, wins. Oilers need to go on a serious heater challenge for the division. I'm with you, Coach Mike. I hear you. Another one from Troll says, I love the Canadian division. Wish it was still there. It would be more fair if all the Eastern teams had to travel more throughout the year. Yeah, that was really interesting, that Canadian division. I was tired of it by the end. I miss seeing Columbus on a Tuesday in February. I really did. I can't believe I said that, but it's true. Andy Pandy texted in, says, Tommy, really tough opponents in the next 5. I'd be happy with the Oilers going 2-2-1. Get through this tough stretch. Keep players healthy. I could see the Oilers winning tonight, losing Thursday. OT lost to Vegas, lost to Panthers, beat Boston. Andy Pandy. How important, I'm going to look ahead just a little bit. I'll look even past tonight and Minnesota on Thursday. How important is it to get a win in the regular season and hopefully in regulation if you're the Oilers against the Golden Knights? Because they just have Edmonton's number the last few games.
Huge. Just for the psyche too, I think is important, right? Because last game they deserved a better fate against the Golden Knights. If it wasn't for a really good performance by Adin Hill, I don't think. And he was good, but I did say, I believe on the Nielsen show, that it was probably, when you get a shutout, there's a lot of factors that come into play. Obviously, your team plays quite well. Maybe it's not as you don't have to do as much usually as a goalie. You just have to worry about one shot. And it was a lot of perimeter play from the Edmonton Oilers. And you saw after that game, you saw a different mindset of getting to the front of the net, I think, in the games following, and it showed. They scored some of those goals 6 feet out from the crease. So I think it was a good kind of wake-up call for the Edmonton Oilers, is they can't just pass it into the back of the net. And although you're getting a lot of zone time, you're not really accomplishing much unless you're getting that puck to the net and battling in front. Now, the defensive core of the Vegas Golden Knights is one of the best in the league, if not the best, and to get there is very difficult. But if they play the same way with a little bit more juice to get to those hard areas and take the eyes away and make life a little bit more difficult for Adin Hill, I think if they play that exact same game and with those two things added, I think they win it.
That'd be good. I think just little mental boost if they can get one of those wins. But a couple tough games ahead of them before we get to Saturday afternoon against the Vegas Golden Knights. Guys, really quickly, update on the Lightning lineup from Gabby Shirley. Point with Gensel and Kucherov. That line stays intact. Paul with Hagel and Chafee. Geeky between Goncalves and Atkinson. Glendening with Girgensons and Isamont. Hedman with Radish, McDonough with Moser, Lilleberg with Perbix, Vasilevsky does indeed get the start in goal. Santini on the ice, but is not taking part in rushes, says Gabby Shirley. And then anything Oilers-wise, I think we're going to see the same lineup. We had Chris Knobloch say don't expect any changes from Edmonton's point of view. All right. Gager, just some final thoughts on you going into this game. I know we had the Home Alone theme for game changers, but anything else you want to get to before we pass things off?
No, I think this is if you were to look at this at the beginning of the year, again, this is an important stretch of games. I guarantee that the Oilers are ready for this. I like the fact that there seems to be a reset Zach Hyman. Darnell Nurse is playing well. Stuart Skinner's playing well. McDavid's doing McDavid types of things, making everyone look like this is the brick tournament. But there's two matchups that I'm most interested in tonight, and see if the Oilers can win this matchup. And who is the more creative and dangerous player, and who makes an impact more? Is it going to be Kucherov, or is it going to be Connor McDavid? And who's going to win the battle in net? Because last year, the game at home, I believe Andrei Vasilevsky, although he allowed 4 goals, it seemed like he stole a game for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and with 54 saves, I believe it was. So, second chances, don't let the goalie get into your head. If the pass off the pillows, guys going to that is just as good a play as trying to wait for something else. Take what's given to you and take the safeties off.
Love it.
If it comes to you, let her buck.
I love it. Great stuff, Gager. Great stuff. We'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Gager, do you want to watch the Omar goal before you go?
Sure, buddy. Yeah, you got it there?
Yeah, a few nasties requested it, so why not, right?
Do you have it with sound?
I think so, yeah. I hope so.
Well, let's see.
Omar can win the game for the Oilers right here. Omar against Ellis. The spin move. The shot. The goal. Welcome to the big league.
Yeah, Kevin Quinn, great call there. Louis DeBrusque with the big chuckle. No passing on that one. He went all gas, no brakes. He didn't show up, Dan Ellis, right, Gager?
No. He did that. If that messes you up as a goalie, and it kind of did, but I think it was more you don't get it that much because on TV, but there was a distinct from the crowd when he did that, and I believe that was his first game, correct?
Yes, it was.
First, and so for a rookie to come in there and do something like that was that old building, man. There was something special about that. It blew the roof off that place when he did that. Because really, it was a terrible move.
All right, Gage, good stuff. Get out of here. We'll see you on the post-game show.
See you, boys.
Joaquin Gage, our game analyst. Let's pass it off to Hernan Salas. I like that you brought that up. So we had people requesting it.
Yeah, well, I saw Omar something on Twitter, so I Googled the goal, and I was like, holy crap, it was, 14 years ago on this day against the Lightning, and then I saw a few people, Hernan, can you play it? So I just went on YouTube and downloaded it, and it's good times. Those were good times in a dark time for the Edmonton Oilers. That moment stands out, Gagne's 8-point night, and, of course, Eberle's shorthanded goal in his first game as a rookie.
Yep.
Those stand out in what was the decade of darkness for the Edmonton Oilers. So, yeah, hopefully it's some good juju for the Oilers tonight.
I remember that. That was early in my time at Oilers TV, my first year, actually. And there were some good moments, but, yeah, that was tough times, man. That team was not good. Not good at all. Good guys, but not a good team. Yeah. So I remember that 14 years ago. This is season 18 for me, Nanso. This is insane.
Crazy. I started at 1260 in February of 2014. So that's how long. Not as long as you. Yeah.
10.5 years. And that's got to be what, 11 or 12 seasons.
Yeah.
With the overlap.
A lot of dark time. I was working with Struddy when Dallas Aikens got fired. I was working with you when Chiarelli got fired after the Detroit game. Do you remember that?
That show was crazy.
That show was that's probably one of the best post-game shows ever because no one was expecting it. It was talked about. And then I think Rishog someone tweeted it out. And then we had like 4 guests from Edmonton. I think Rishog joined us. Gregor joined us. I think a whole bunch of people joined us. And
remember I had the confirmation that he had indeed been fired?
Yes.
I was getting it from my old colleagues. They're like, yeah, he got fired. They zipped him out of here. And I was like, he's been fired. And then people are like, are you sure? And I'm like, I wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, like 5 minutes later, the official announcement went down. That was crazy.
It was crazy. Because I remember with Struddy, I had booked the whole show, and he's like, cancel everybody. We're going hard on Dallas. And it was the same thing with us with the post-game show. We didn't even talk about the game, Tom.
Oh, no, there was no point. I think it was against who? Detroit?
It was, and they got their butts kicked, and it was just really, really bad. And those are 2 memorable moments in my producer / co-host career was when those 2 firings came down the pipe. It took off, man. It was. I think we were on air for like over 2 hours that night, Tom.
That was wild, man. And we actually, like, the calls were actually decent. I know we got it. The call in, we're not going to get into the call in stuff, but because it started to really decline after that. But
yes,
the calls that we were getting that night were just fire because it felt like the Oilers after that playoff run had fallen back into the decade of darkness. Those 2 seasons that they missed the playoffs. So yeah, there was a lot of some wild nights, man.
It was good times though, man. Good times.
Well, always something to talk. There's always something to talk about with this team. And that's funny how that goal by Omar on Dan Ellis 14 years ago to the day back at the old building spurred on that little conversation. And
just imagine the post-game shows back then when he scored that goal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it must have been great.
I bet it was, man. We continue to have very fun pre- and post-game shows.
We do.
To this day. We're just a little bit older, a little bit wiser, perhaps more distinguished. I don't know. But, we've seen some things over our time, and it's always fun to discuss it with our listeners and our viewers. We'll get a text in before we say goodbye for the pregame show. Juan says that Yak goal and McIntyre fight against Calgary are 2 other memories from the darkness. Yeah, I remember talking to Steve a few days later, and he's like, Tom, I don't want to talk about it. He felt so bad for Rightus Ivanon's, basically ended his career. And I remember being at the Saddle Dome like a couple months later in the Flames locker room, and Ivanon's had his stall in the one corner with his gear there, but he was nowhere to be found. I remember when Mac Attack did that. And the Yak goal was pretty exciting. I was at my buddy's. I was the best man for my good friend Brett and I had to take that night off because I had best man duties. I remember watching it being like, oh, I wish I was there for that.
Is that when he tied it against LA late?
Yeah.
I was at that game.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
And then I think Gagne scored in OT.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then everybody in the hockey world was chirping Yakupov for his celebration. Remember that?
He was reclaiming the ice at Rexall / Northlands from what Theron Fleury did a decade and a half prior. I think let's call it that. Sure. All right. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show brought to you by GCL Diesel. Nice trip down memory lane. Thank you for all the texts. Thank you for the nasty chats. Well, for Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you as always, and we'll catch you after the Oilers and the Lightning right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Ciao for now.